Hello, I'm Captain Rob Holston. I'll be your lecturer today, lecturing on the Ice Age to the present, facts and fables of Southeast Alaska. Covering the ages of pre-contact, that's before the Europeans or Americans arrived in this area, to the present times. Look at the beautiful scene that we have before us. I can count 7 islands in this scene, as well as a peninsula from the mainland. And the most amazing thing I find about early explorers, that they were able to navigate these waters, mostly in safety, taking various precautions about the water's depths because there's lots of underwater reefs. And in this area, we do have as much as a 24-foot tide differential covering these reefs. Some of these reefs I'll point out right here, and Danger Island Reef right here, and Hammock Island Reef right here. If the tide were just 8 feet higher than it is now, you would not see those reefs, and many shipwrecks have occurred there. Now, during the Ice Age, the sea level in this area was about 150 feet lower than we find it today. So the original inhabitants were perhaps living right on the seacoast, where now it's in depths of 150 feet. The land route from Asia happened right about here. We call that the land bridge from Asia to Alaska. And it's a very arid area, especially during the Ice Age time, when very little rainfall fell there, very little snowfall. And so there wasn't a whole lot of ice for the early inhabitants that arrived from Asia to North America in that location. The inhabitants were inland, not along the coast, because the coastline was covered with a huge ice cap. But when they found the fertile river valleys, marked here in yellow, they would follow those river valleys down to the seacoast. That's how the first inhabitants of Southeast Alaska arrived here. We know them today as the Haida, the Tsimshian, and the Tlingit natives. Well, here's a picture of an iceberg. And when George Vancouver first arrived in Icy Strait area, in 1879, he was stopped in his tracks by an iceberg. He marked the location, and he was a very good cartographer. So his charts were used for 100 to 150 years after his exploration era. And 81 years later, when John Muir arrived in this area, he found that this iceberg had retreated 65 miles. Now that's global warming before we had any internal combustion engines. The Haida, Tsimshian, and Tlingit. We have a rich culture here in Southeast Alaska. And the natives have shared their heritage with us in many ways. Their art forms, their music, their dancing. Here is a Tsimshian helmet with a white ermine right on top. Ermines are from the weasel family, and because of their brilliant white fur, were often used to adorn various pieces of art. Here's another helmet called the frog helmet. And a native comb. Natives would carve their own combs, or sometimes use sections of whale baleen to create combs. Now, here's a hooligan grease bowl. Well, what are hooligan? Hooligan are small fish, about this big, but they are very fatty, greasy, oily, and they were harvested by the Haida, Tsimshian, and Tlingit, and then they were rendered into a grease that was very valuable as a trade item. Here's a seabird turned into a hooligan grease bowl. And here is a raven with an articulating jaw. Yes, you can see the string here. And the native dancers would make masks representing the various animals that were important to them, their culture, and their survival. Here are spruce roots baskets woven by the Haida, Tsimshian, and Tlingit. The spruce root is split in two and then woven into baskets so tight that they would hold water. Now, they would also use this weaving technique to weave rain hats that were basically waterproof And the amazing ability of these natives to weave such tight weaves is, we find astounding today, that when they didn't have plastics and rubber, they were able to make water-holding baskets. Rather amazing. Kushtaka. Now, whenever you see a totem pole with lips that look like this, round lips, that's probably a depiction of Kushtaka, which is another name. It's the native name for Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Only in the Kushtaka legends, they saw that the Bigfoot actually shape-shifted into such forms as the sea otter. Kushtaka, shape-shifting Bigfoot. Here's an artist's rendition of Bigfoot. And you can see the sort of the point on the head up there. And all the way from the east coast of the United States to the Pacific Northwest, we have legends and sightings, anecdotal testimonies from many people, agreeing with the historic culture and storytelling passed down by the Haida Simpson and Tlingit, that Kushtaka, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, one of the same, does exist here in southeast Alaska. Now, what is a potlatch? Well, a potlatch, much like the word potluck, is a party. Only this one lasts for 2 or 3 weeks. And it's where the Haida Simpson or Tlingit chief would put on the party to show that they had amazing wealth. One of the things they would give away, food and gifts. There was dancing and revelry and celebration. And sometimes they even invited their frenemies, people that they wanted to say, look, I'm richer than you. So the potlatch was a very interesting part of the Haida Simpson and Tlingit culture. Here's an example of a clan house, a typical clan house, native clan house, and it would be approximately 45 feet wide, up to 60 feet in length, and made out of split cedar. Notice the totem poles at the front. That totem pole at the front has got a doorway. That's the only doorway into the clan house. And the young men with muscles, the strong young men, would sleep on either side of the entryway with war clubs at the handy. So if the slave traders came to steal away the young boys and girls, they got bopped in the head as they crouched to come through the doorway.
Well,